Welcome to A Great Cooker. I'm Serfronya. Today I'm making another meal in my cast iron skillet. This one I believe is 11.5 inches in diameter. And before we get started, let me go ahead and preheat this. I crank my heat all the way up for a couple minutes, and then once I notice that my skillet has started to get hot, then I'm going to lower the temperature to medium heat. We're making a ground beef goulash, so I've got about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of ground beef. I'm not sure. I think this is 90s, either 90-10 or 93-7. Doesn't really matter. I have some oil. This particular one I'm using is olive oil, but you can use any kind of oil. Also, I have some homemade pasta sauce. This is about, I'm not sure, this is probably somewhere between 12 and 16 ounces. But my kids made this a few days ago. It was left over in the fridge, so I want to use the rest of it. But you could use any pizza sauce, or you could use a can of tomato sauce and you could season it with Italian seasonings. I'm going to use a box of macaroni and cheese. It's going to do the hard work for us. And then a few spices here. Salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder. My oil has been heating, my skillet has been heating long enough, I can tell. It's just about the right temperature. So I'm going to add maybe about a tablespoon of oil. I don't need a lot because I'm just trying to put a little oil on the skillet before adding the meat. And I'm going to add the ground beef. I'm going to go ahead and break this ground beef up as it's cooking. If I had actual chopped onion, and then if I had a half a cup of chopped onion and 1 or 2 cloves of garlic, I would add these right now in here with the meat as it's cooking, but I don't have that today, so we're just using the seasonings instead. I like to season my meat while it's cooking. I don't measure, but I don't know, maybe what is that? Maybe about a teaspoon of salt, about half a teaspoon of garlic powder, maybe half a teaspoon of onion powder. And I can always taste this later and add more if I need to. A bit of pepper. I don't know, maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1/8 of a teaspoon, not very much. And now I'm just gonna keep, gonna turn my heat up. I'm turning my heat up a little bit more. It's on medium. I'm gonna turn it a little past medium. And then I'm just gonna keep turning this meat until it's all done. I don't plan on draining it. It might look like it, but there's really not much liquid in the skillet. And this has been cooking for about 5 or 6 minutes. So now that there's no pink anywhere through this, I'm going to go ahead and add my pasta sauce. I actually didn't show this in the ingredients, but you're also going to need 1 cup of water. And so what I'm going to do is we want this to come to a boil. So I'm going to turn the heat up slightly to get this to come to a boil pretty quickly. While I'm waiting for that to come to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and open up my box of macaroni. This is just the 7.25 ounces. This particular one is the thick and creamy version, but you can use a regular one. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out, make sure you pull out this cheese pack, because you're not going to use that right away. Yeah, we got some boiling going on. Can you see it's bubbling around the edges? And yeah, once it's boiling throughout, I think that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add this macaroni. You don't have to boil it separately in a separate pot. You just want to mix it very well into this one. So what we're going to do now is once you get that macaroni all the way through there, I'm going to cover this I'm gonna set a timer for about 6 to 8 minutes. It's been about 4 minutes, and I'm just gonna stir this. Looking pretty good. Okay, timer's going off. It's been 8 minutes, so let's take a look and see what we're working with. Most of the liquid's gone. What I'm checking for is to see if the macaroni is tender enough, which it still looks pretty firm to me. Let's see. Well, you can put your fork through it. It is al dente. Put your fork through it pretty easily. But I'm going to turn the heat down and let this go for a couple more minutes, because my kids like their noodles a little softer. I'm gonna add 2 more minutes. It's been about 13 minutes, and I'm about to check on the noodles and make sure, see if they're a bit softer. And then we're gonna add our our magic cheese powder. Okay, as you can see, this is looking just fine. So let's get our cheese powder in here. And just get it stirred up. This is a great dish because it only takes 1 pan to make. You don't need a separate pan to cook your macaroni. So, and it cooks very quickly. I actually started cooking at 4:30, and it is now 4:55. So you can have this meal ready in under 30 minutes. If you want to sprinkle some cheese on the top, I know my kids are not going to object to that. I don't know how much, maybe 1/3 of a cup, really just enough to cover the top. And I believe that this is a mild cheddar, or is it a sharp? I don't know, but I always just use whatever refrigerator or whatever cheese I happen to have in my refrigerator at the time. So whatever you have on hand, it'll work. And I'm gonna put the top on, and I'm gonna leave it for just a minute or 2 more. I'm gonna let the cheese melt. All right, I've had that top on there for a couple minutes, and as you can see, the cheese melted. Isn't that pretty? I'm gonna put a few green onion tops on top of here.